Hey guys, Sundown here. This is going to be my chapter review to One Piece 984, my Bible. Now, a couple things here. First off, I've changed my logo, so let me know what you guys think of that. I'm going to change my banner maybe sometime in the future. Not just yet, but I'll get to that eventually. But yeah, do let me know what you think of my logo. And the second thing is this chapter was pretty good. I was not expecting what we kind of finally found out in this chapter right at the end. But let's get right down to it and let's actually talk about it. So the first kind of thing is the cover page. We see Pound saying to his daughters Chiffon and Lola, "It's me, I'm your father." I was like, yeah, cool, they're surprised. Yeah, okay, whatever. I don't really care too much about that. So then the first scene, what actually happens in chapter. The first thing we see is page one kind of cradling Ulti, and he's talking about Yamato. He's like, "Stupid Yamato, you better not lose sight of those two," talking to his minions. Slow them down and tell me where they are. So he's still ready for a fight. He still wants to go and find both Yamato and Luffy and kick the shit out of them for what they've done. So they question page one here. They're like, "Yeah, you took a shot," and I thought this was really interesting. Page one kind of massages his jaw, and he's like, "Yeah, good point. The punch that Luffy gave me, it hurt pretty bad. It almost loosened up my jaw a tad." Now, there's a couple things I want to address here. You see these kind of shivering lines drawn around page one's hat and around his shoulders, which suggests that he was wobbled a little bit. Like he said, it did hurt pretty bad. So maybe he's still a little bit shaken up. But the fact that he's basically his recovery time is quite quick. He seems to be like, okay, yeah, let me just get up, shake this off a little bit, and I'll get back into the fight. And you actually see in the next page, he's running off towards where Luffy and Yamato are, ready to clap them again and ready to start fighting again. So I thought that like the minions say, their resilience, their toughness of both page one and Ulti's is off the charts. Their zones in particular seem to be very resilient, these ancient dinosaur types. And we see once again, like I said, the same thing with Ulti. She's there telling the medical team to get off of her. She is so energetic. She's still hugging page one, saying, "Pray for little old me." I thought that was pretty funny. And then she makes the best joke of this entire arc, I think, so far. I was laughing my ass off. She's there like getting really energized, thinking about Yamato and how he dared to use Kaido's Thunder Bagua. And then she's like, "Thunder Bagua? More like Blunder Bagua," and I was dead, dude. I was off my ass off. And then the fact that she coughs up blood after that, it made me laugh even harder. But she seems to have taken more of the damage than page one did. So Luffy hit page one and seems to have wobbled him a little bit. Maybe he lost consciousness a couple seconds and then he was back up. But Ulti seems to have actually been hurt a little bit more, because I think she was blindsided with the Thunder Bagua. So maybe with a stronger attack than Luffy delivered, and also she wasn't expecting it. So she was loose in that direction. She got chinned and knocked out. But once again, they are very resilient. They are very tough, and I'm actually really happy with that. They weren't just knocked out. The Tobiropo are actually a little bit more, they have more substance to them, they have more strength, and they're more danger to them than originally than what we saw with was it Sasaki? Yeah, Sasaki. I'm not too happy about that. So as page one runs towards where he knows Luffy and Yamato now are, we see Luffy and Yamato actually duking it out. They're fighting each other, not to the maximum, not like to the brink of their abilities, but Luffy's basically saying, "Yo, I have zero time, I need to get out of here." Yamato saying, "Wait a second, I have something to tell you, just hear me out for a bit." So they're getting in a fight because Luffy doesn't want to be held back. Yamato wants to tell him something, and Luffy's going gear third and everything like that. He's using Busto Shoku no Haki, and I was actually really impressed with Yamato here. I mean, like, we saw how strong he was last chapter, a little bit, kind of a glimpse of his strength anyway. And Luffy over here says, "I'll give you 5 seconds," and they're fighting and everything like that. And it doesn't even look like Yamato's struggling. Luffy at one point is huffing and puffing. He's throwing these attacks. But Yamato is just there saying, "This makes me remember a battle from the past." And spoiler alert, by the way, let's get right to the end of the chapter here. We know that Yamato is actually a woman who identifies as a man, I think, at the very least. Yamato is actually biologically a female. She's Kaido's daughter. And the fact that she says here, "This is only making me remember a battle from the past," she says at the end of the chapter that she had actually interacted with Ace. Luffy reminded her of Ace. So I'm thinking maybe she fought with Ace in the past. They had some sort of scuffle. Maybe they fought to such a point where they were both knackered out, and she gained some sort of respect for Ace, and he taught her, like, there's more to the world or something like that. Gave her that dream of wanting to see more of the world, a bit like Kozuki Oden, or maybe she already had that and Ace kind of reignited that dream within her. So I'm hoping we get a little bit more on that. But they continue to fight. They kind of end in an explosive attack with each other. Someone actually made mention on Reddit of Luffy utilizing a bit of his emission Busto Shoku no Haki. Now, there's a few different types of Busto Shoku or hardening Haki now that we're aware of. So the more advanced levels are emission, where you can within a couple inches of your actual body, you can emit your Busoshoku no Haki, your hardening, and you can damage items or you can damage objects through that emitting of your Haki. And then there's the internal destruction. So that's the higher form of emission, which is basically any object which is being hit by emission, you destroy it from the inside out. So I don't think Luffy was using that here. I mean, the fact he wasn't not making contact with Yamato, but still hurting Yamato. Yamato wasn't even hurt, so I doubt Luffy was actually going that hard, especially because Yamato says later on, you weren't even trying fully. As much as I know you can, I can feel you're much stronger than that. So I really doubt Luffy was using any advanced forms of Haki besides the basic kind of hardening, and maybe even some Kenbunshoku here and there. Page 1 arrives at the scene and he just sees all this destruction, and both Luffy and Yamato have gone missing. The next scene, we go to the performance stage Skull Dome, which is where Orochi's kind of giving his speech again. He's talking about how on the very day that Kozuki Oden died, his wife, who was a witch, propelled her vengeance into the future, which is kind of the Akazaya 9 and Momonosuke, and he's saying, yeah, he pushed them, she somehow sent them 20 years into the future, and now they're coming back to kill me, and now I'm gonna kill them, that kind of stuff, and he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna kill them. So what I found interesting here once again was the fact that Kaido's men are kind of ashamed, and they're not ashamed, they're kind of making a mockery of Orochi. They're like, yeah, that's not possible. You can find little kids with top knots all over Wano. That kid is probably just some little kid you picked up off the street to make a point, and now you're going to execute him and say, oh, the Kozuki clan are dead. Whereas one of them even makes mention, he's like, the name Kozuki died ages ago, it's extinct. Why do we even care about this one kid is the vibe I was getting. So once again, they're making a mockery of Orochi. They have very little respect for him. But what we see here, and the point of this scene is, we see Robin, we see Jinbei, and we see quite a few of the other samurai, even Hyogoro, the flower. We see all of them blending into the feast. They've all blended into the feast, and they're all watching Momonosuke about to be executed, and they're wondering what to do. Jinbei's telling Nico Robin, he's like, all right, stay calm. The samurai are going to spring into action. We have to wait for them. Stay strong. So Nico Robin, even though she can't stand to see Momonosuke like that, the samurai and even Hyogoro, they're getting ready to do something. So I'm wondering what's going to happen there. Are they actually going to stand up in the middle of the feast and be like, all right, time to kick some ass? Even though at the end we see Kaido, Queen, King, and Jack roll up on that same stage, I really think the samurai are going to need a little bit of help if they're going to actually do something to save Momonosuke here. The next scene, we see the rest of the Akazaya 9, so Okiku Nojo. We see Raizo, we see Inuarashi, we see Kawamatsu, we see Denjiro. No, not Denjiro, we see Ashura Doji, sorry. All of them on Law's ship, on his submarine called the Polar Tang. I wasn't actually aware of that. And Law gives the command to rise, so they go to the surface, and he then uses his room, slices off part of Onigashima, so there's a little kind of rock on top. He slices that, and then he switches the rocks with the Akazaya 9 that are on his ship and himself, and he maneuvers himself and the Akazaya 9 onto Onigashima. So they have successfully entered the rear side of Onigashima. They've infiltrated, and once they get there, Law's there saying, alright, there are two entrances. The one above has to be the one to Kaido, being at the highest part of the tower, being at the highest part of the castle. That would be more befitting of someone like Kaido, the leader. And then we hear some sort of scuffle going on, something like beggars can't be choosers. He said this was a brilliant plan. And we see Nekomamushi drop on his head into the snow, and they're all surprised, like, holy shit, Nekomamushi, you're here. And then we get this really cool kind of reunion / just first union kind of thing, where Inuarashi sees, everyone sees Marco. They're like, oh shit, Marco's here. You haven't changed a bit, all that type of stuff. But the main kind of impactful moment here was Ashura Doji and the rest of them, Kikunojo especially, seeing Izo. They see Izo next to Nekomamushi, and they're surprised as shit. They haven't seen this guy in for them it's been probably, for Kikunojo and probably the rest of them, it's been 9 years. But for Ashura Doji, for instance, it's been 29 years, the same amount of time as Izo, I think. But Izo looks amazing. I mean, besides the emotion you see from Kikunojo, who's like, oh my god, it's my brother, and Kikunojo just looking awesome as hell, just look at you now, Kikunojo, you've turned into a great samurai. I thought that was a really nice thing to say as he returns. But in terms of Izo himself, he looks awesome. His hair he's got that one strand just kind of dangling all the way down to the front. His hair, I really like his hair because it's really long and it has kind of three main protruding areas. It looks awesome. But his kimono looks sick with that kind of sash, the spotted sash across his front with the twin pistols. just locked in between them. We see his kimono has this kind of tendril fire effect going on. It looks awesome, and he's wearing black gloves, and anytime someone's wearing black gloves in One Piece, they look dope as shit. And then he's got his kind of overcoat, the kind of cape around his kimono, which looks to be a darker color. So he looks like he's wearing some sort of black with a very light color, and he just looks incredibly awesome. He looks thicker, muscular-wise, or musculature-wise, and he looks cool. He's got that scarring through his eyebrow, which might have been due to the Payback War. But I'm not too sure exactly, once again, how he got that scar. It could have been part of the Payback War. It might have been something that he'd been engaging with in the meantime, but we simply don't know. We'll have to find out later on. But a really cool reunion. The next thing we see is inside the castle. We see Bao Hung, which is that kind of flying squirrel devil fruit girl, telling Kaido, she's like, oh, by the way, Big Mom's on her way here. Kaido's a little bit annoyed. You should have told me that earlier. But then we get Kaido and his crew rolling up to the stage saying, all right, we're going to liven up this execution a little bit with an announcement that might catch your attention. He's going to explain the new Onigashima project. So I'm not sure what the new Onigashima project is. I have a feeling that's part of the, our unification with Big Mom. This is part of that announcement. And we'll get back to that in a little second, actually. But I just want to talk about the sizing of the characters here. Now, Kaido obviously is very large. He looks huge. He looks chunky as hell. We see King next to him, who's smaller, who kind of stands up to Kaido's shoulder a bit. He's still got the fire going on his back by the looks of things, and he looks awesome. And we see Queen, who's relatively the same size as King, a roundabout. But then at the back is Jack, and he's huge. He's taller than Kaido. So I was a little bit surprised about that. I'm not sure if that's a sizing, kind of a lack of continuity in sizing. Oda's kind of been known for that. But between chapters, one character might look huge in one point, one character might look the same size as Kaido another time. It really depends on which chapter you look at these characters. So I'm not sure if Oda's the best for that, but the double spread looked absolutely amazing. Seeing those four guys there, and then we see Fukurokuju and Orochi just standing there as well, not really part of the panel. Well, they didn't feel like they were part of the panel so much. So yeah, going back to the new Onigashima project. So I'm not too sure exactly what that means. I have a feeling that's actually more of what they're going to do in the future with the Big Mom Pirates, what their aim is. But I feel like part of the announcement, because Kaido made mention that he wanted, that Yamato was a big part of the announcement. So I think part of that might be to do with the fact that, oh, by the way, we're going to get Yamato married off to one of the Big Mom Pirates' sons, maybe Katakuri, maybe Perospero, maybe Daifuku, maybe Oven, whoever there is there. And that's going to seal our unification with the Big Mom Pirates, our alliance with the Big Mom Pirates. Now, the reason why I think he would have wanted Yamato then, why he said it was going to cause kind of a large amount of confusion, was because they all think that Yamato is a dude, whereas we find out at the end of this chapter Yamato is in fact a she. Yamato addresses herself as a he, and Kaido actually addresses her as a he, but he might use the fact that she's actually biologically a female and try to marry her off to seal that alliance. So I'd love to find out if that's exactly what he's trying to do, and how Yamato would actually go about would feel about that, because Yamato seems to actually be strong enough to hold her own against probably one of the commanders of the Big Mom Pirates. So if he or she was married off to Katakuri, for instance, that would be a fight to see. So then the final scene we get is an attic space inside the castle, and this is where Yamato is given 5 minutes to talk to Luffy. And Yamato, we know she's a she at the end of the chapter, is when we find out, but she says, I want to be Kozuki Oden. When I told my father that, he clobbered me for saying something like that, but I was there 20 years ago at the execution. I saw the Hour of Legends. It inspired me and mortified me when he actually died, but more so than anything, it was the inspiration I received from Kozuki Oden that's made me the way I am today. And Yamato talks about how he found Kozuki Oden's voyage journal in Kuri, and he talks about how it's his Bible. And then what we get Yamato saying is that her father doesn't actually know that the journal exists, and this is a very important part. She makes mention of the fact that his grand adventurous life and very important things are actually written. Let me just put that on mute for you. But he makes mention of the fact that his grand adventurous life and very important things are actually written in that journal. So Yamato might actually know a lot more about the Voyage Century, about Laugh Tale, about Oden's journeys with the Roger Pirates, and maybe even the Whitebeard Pirates than anybody else. Yamato might actually know possibly even how to decipher the poneglyphs and stuff like that. Yamato, I think, is going to be pivotal moving forward. So maybe Yamato might even position herself to become part of the Straw Hat crew if she makes it out of Wano alive. What we get here is the reveal. She takes off her Hanya mask with the long flowing hair, and there's a few things to talk about here. Now, obviously, her design, I think, is very, very particular in the sense of, let's start off with her hair. She seems to have light colored hair, but she seems to have black hair kind of intertwined within that, or black ends at the hair. And her hair kind of reminds me both of Black Maria and Kaido in terms of both the shaping and the flow, and also the hair pieces that she has in are very, very reminiscent. They look very similar to Black Maria at the very least. So I'm trying to find out, or I'm trying to understand if there is some sort of Black Maria Kaido kind of, did they have a kid? Was Black Maria part of the crew 20 years ago? But we didn't see any of the Tobiroppo 20 years ago when we saw Odin's flashback, Odin's backstory. And we didn't see Yamato either, so that's not really an excuse, I don't think. Maybe the Tobiroppo were there, but Kaido seems to be a much younger pirate at the time, so I don't know exactly how this is going to turn out, but Yamato might be a child, I think, from Black Maria and Kaido. She identifies as they've said as a he, because Kozuki Odin was a man, so she chose to be a man as well. But she also brings on kind of the bombshell of, you remind me of Ace. So she's talking to Luffy saying, you remind me of Ace. She must know that Luffy has some sort of connection to Ace. She seems to be quite aware of things that have gone down outside of Wano. So I'm guessing this is going to be what's going to sell her to Luffy. Luffy seems to want to pick up on little bits and pieces that Ace has left behind, like Otama and stuff like that, fulfilling the promises he made with them by himself. So I think Luffy is going to actually, this is going to be the formation of the kind of the foundations of a relationship with Yamato, and maybe even build a bigger, more solid relationship into the future for Luffy and Yamato. I think Yamato is going to be very important to Luffy moving forward in the story, at least in Wano, but maybe even beyond that. So that's pretty much the end of the chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I will get to my Hero Academia review tomorrow. So I'll see you guys in a bit.